Our agenda today will start off with a review of the latest set of features and highlight some of the great capabilities that were added as a part of those releases. Then we're going to turn it over to our special guest speakers to discuss the functionality that they are taking advantage of. First, we're going to hear from Tina Fleischman, who's a manager of front-end IT applications at Leaf Commercial Capital. And then we're going to hear from Jim Litke, our project leader of information technology services at Olympus Americas. We're going to round out our hour with a live demonstration of the few things that all three of us have been raving about. If at any point in time during our webinar today you have any questions, please submit them to the Q&A section on the WebEx page, and then we'll do our best to answer them as they come in. With that, we're going to get started. So starting out with, did you know that Rapport could do that? Our webinar today is going to be focusing on the releases of 6.6 through 6.8 of Rapport. These releases all focus on providing usability updates to the general product, as well as a pointed focus at improving productivity for administrators of Rapport. All Rapport releases include security and performance improvements when needed, as well as alignment with new functionality introduced on InfoLeaf 10. From a compatibility perspective, the releases of Rapport we're talking about today are compatible with both InfoLeaf 9 and 10. From the InfoLeaf 9 side, version 376 and higher is compatible. And with InfoLeaf 10, you can align with version 10.1 and higher. The first topic that I wanted to talk with everyone about today is Rapport's refreshed look. We have a new user interface on Rapport that provides an updated look and feel. It aligns closely with our InfoLeaf 10 UI. And I'm really excited to show this to you, as well as give you a glimpse into what our users, Tina and Jim, have in place with that as well. The existing UI that you may be familiar with today will be retired with our upcoming 6.9 release. And if you want to, you can continue to have your existing UI on versions up to 6.8. So if you're running the classic UI today, you can continue to run the classic UI throughout your time up until the 6.8 release. Once you upgrade to Rapport 6.9, that's going to be available at the end of this year. If you haven't transitioned to the new UI, then the upgrade will transition for you. And I'm going to be showing in a little bit one of the newest things we've added with 6.8 of a form preview option to show you what the new UI would look like for you, even if you are operating on the classic UI. From a general usability perspective, we've done quite a bit with Rapport over those 3 releases, and I wanted to talk a little bit and show you some of that today. From a usability perspective with alerts and notifications, we've added some new options for you to be able to communicate with some key individuals. We've added the ability to send an alert and notification to your customer contact, your dealer contact, and then we also added a new field on Rapport called Email Distribution List. And what this field allows you to do is it's a free-form field that you can add email addresses to, and you can add those email addresses either manually or you can have rules populate into that field to display on the applications in contract setups. And then when alerts go out, the emails that are listed in that field will also be included on the alerts. And that's one of the items that I'll show you later today. Dealer maintenance access is another key usability item that was added to the release in 6.7. One of the things that we heard a lot from customers was that you could get into your contract maintenance directly from an application or a contract setup, but you could not access dealer maintenance in the same way. So now we have the ability to access dealer maintenance directly from an application or a contract setup. And that's another thing that I'm going to be showing you during this webinar. Asynchronous web services is something that was added as a part of the 6.8 release, and this was added as a performance improvement for Rapport that allows you to call your custom web services and have processing happening behind the scenes so your users can continue to do their work. Right now, the web services that you have in place for Rapport today are synchronous, so the user sits and waits for the calls to be completed. But with asynchronous processing, the user can go right back about their business and do not have to wait for that web service to complete. And we've also done some other things for product and performance improvements as a part of the 6.8 release as well. We focused on applications and contract setups with large quantity of assets. However, the majority of our Rapport customer base would be able to take advantage of these performance improvements. And the areas we improved include calculate IRR, calculate pricing, contract number generation, and just general web service packages. Moving on to improvements that were completed as a part of the universal admin tool, we have the form group template editing directly from a form. I think is one of my favorite things to show off, and I know that every administrator I talk to is pretty excited about this one. We included this as a part of the 6.6 release where you can view and edit form group templates directly from your form. So no longer do you have to write down the key to your form group template on your form, back out, and go into that to edit. You can do it directly all in one shot now. We also added for form group templates a static view so that you have one window to operate in and you do not need to scroll to be able to go back and forth to the main set of controls for the form group template. We have a new process within the administrative tool to allow you to create fields and groups in bulk. So if you're doing some new work or adding a new line of business or adding a new set of fields, you have the ability to create those fields and groups all at one time using a bulk process, using a spreadsheet or comma delimited file. And also with the 6.6 release, we provide the support of HTML pop-up reports. So you have a new file type within Rapport that will support all HTML reports as a distributed report type. On the Rapport rule side, we have quite a few improvements as a part of these releases as well. We have the ability for field comparisons within Rapport rule scenarios. And one of the things that's really exciting about this capability is you may notice when I show later today that it's a familiar look and feel as it's the same criteria and evaluations that we have in other areas of the system today. Now you can update your rules to use the criteria evaluations, or you can continue to use the evaluations that you use today. Another item, URL rules. We've updated the functionality with that so that you can use these rules to concatenate information to create dynamic URLs, so that it really allows you to expand your URL rules to either a static static URL, or you can add on to it to make it a little more dynamic, and that's one of the things that I'm going to show you later as well. With our 6.6 release, we've expanded the available keys that we have as a part of Rapport rules. So we've included keys such as back office key, the customer key, and the contract number, as well as some others. And finally on the list, we have distributed postal code lookups. So we have gone ahead and distributed a web service that will call to InfoLease if InfoLease is your back office to determine if the tax engine should be called for location lookup. So I hope that gives you a short glimpse into some of the exciting things that we've done and some of the ways that we're trying to streamline your efforts and make your configuration easier to manage and maintain. But like I said, I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to be able to hear from others as well. So at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Tina at Leaf to give us an indication of how they're managing their configuration today and some of the things that she's really excited about as they're working through the latest set of releases. Tina? Sounds like we may be having some technical difficulties getting Tina to talk. She may be talking and we may not be able to hear her. We're just taking one quick peek at our WebEx to see if we can make an adjustment. It looks like WebEx is not cooperating with us for Tina or Jim to talk with us at this point in time. I think one thing that we can do is I can move forward and show the demonstration, and then we can circle back if we can figure out the WebEx to be able to allow Tina and Jim to talk. So we are just going to go on the fly and switch over to our demonstration portion of our webinar today. So this is a list of things that I wanted to show everyone, not necessarily in this order, but I am going to show off the new UI, the access to the dealer maintenance, alerts and notifications, our Rapport rules criteria, editing, form group templates, postal code lookups, and URL fields. So I'm going to start out in our universal admin tool and move over to the Rapport rules tool. And then I'm going to end the presentation in the Rapport UI. So I'm in the universal admin tool, should look very familiar to everyone. I'm going to start in Rapport in the form setup. And so I'm going to go into one of my forms. And so this should look familiar to everyone. Just in a form, it's the same look and feel that you're familiar with right now. But I'm going to edit that form group template. And so you can see this looks quite a bit different than what you may be used to on your current version of Rapport. It looks a lot nicer. You are able to edit. You go directly into the edit of a form group template. Whereas right now, if you were to click on that link, you would just get a list of fields. So you're able to make any changes and modifications as you need to, and then you can either return to the form setup, save and exit, or save. So I'm not going to make any changes at this point in time, but you can see that you're able to directly make all of your changes right from your form. Now, one thing that is also exciting about the new form look is the classic UI preview and the IDS format UI preview. So if you're operating on 6.8 or 6.8, you have the ability to see what the IDS format would look like for you if you were to switch over to the new UI. Classic UI is what you are running on today. So classic UI, you'd be able to see this is what you look what you should be used to today and what it looks like today. But if you go into the IDS format preview, this is a look and feel of what the new UI would look like for you, just to give you a little indication. Now, if you have any custom CSS applied to your UI, you can continue to do that. And so this would only show what the basic or what the IDS format would look like, but it will give you an idea, an indication of how your forms, the fields on your form would align and how the tabs would display. So So I'm going to exit out of here. And so that was showing the UI pieces. The other thing I wanted to show you as a part of the Universal Admin today was the alerts and notifications information. So within the alerts function, alerts and notifications, I have an alert that's set up, but I wanted to show everyone the new fields that are available as recipients. So I talked about the customer contact email address. So this will send an alert or notification to the email address that's listed under your customer contact field. And then we also have the same information. So for third party or dealer contact, you can send an email or notification to that as well. However, for this alert, I have the email distribution list set up. And so that's the field I was talking about where you can add multiple emails to this list that you can either enter manually or you can set up rules to populate within this field. The other thing I wanted to show you, just so that everyone's aware, is these alerts and notifications, the emails are now, you can have them as HTML. So you would apply a transform against that, and you can jazz up your emails a little bit and make them a little prettier. The other area, so I'm going to move away from Universal Admin now, and I'm going to go into Rapport rules. And the first thing that I wanted to show everyone was the distributed postal code lookup that we put in as a part of a distributed web service with InfoLease. So I clicked on a rule that I have set up to default the contract customer location, and I'm in the scenario right now, and I just wanted to show everyone that that as a web service, I have a new distributed web service, get contract customer location, where I'll call down to InfoLease, and if I'm connected to Vertex, I will call down and get the accurate location information for that customer. And so what you would do is just set up this rule, tie it to the distributed web services that are now available for you, and then you can select the forms that you'd like this defaulting to OPER. The other rule that I wanted to show you was a simple URL rule that we have in place that would populate the Secretary of State URL. And so this rule, what it will do is it goes based off of the customer state, and then it populates a new URL link with the Secretary of State website based on which state you're in. So we have three scenarios set up right now. The other thing I wanted to point out, if you're not familiar with web service rules, that you have the ability on the web service tab to have a display button show up for your user to click on, or you have the ability for the web service to be called after it is triggered when you tab off of that field. And I will be showing this in the UI as well. And then the last rule that I wanted to show you, and I will be showing you in the UI, is, I don't know if you've noticed, but when I click on the scenario, you can see there's a new tab behind the evaluation. So the evaluation you're probably most likely used to, but now we have a new criteria tab, and it's going to look very familiar to you for all the other areas of the system that you use criteria. And so you are able to set up the criteria to perform the function and the evaluation that you need it to. Now, one thing that I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of on this particular criteria is that you can evaluate if something is not null. And that's something that was a little bit harder to do and a little bit more cumbersome as a part of the scenarios using the evaluation previously. So it was possible, but it was a lot of additional scenarios where now you can just have the criteria right out of the gate to say, if my contract number, for example, this is the one I have up, my contract number is not null, I am going to take that contract number and concatenate it to a value. So what I am doing in this particular rule is once I have a booked app contract set up from Rapport into InfoLease, I am building a URL that I can then put on my form to call into InfoLease to bring up contract maintenance for that contract. So that's one of the things I'm going to show you today in the UI. But this is how you can use the URL rules to build that final website or call into that URL. And with that, I'm going to move over to Rapport and finish the demo in the Rapport UI. So this is the login page for the new UI. And you'll notice that it looks quite a bit different than what you may be used to. The navigation bar it can be along the top or the side, similar to how it is today. But one thing I wanted to point out is we did take feedback from the user group and from our customers, and we provided a few special features as a part of the new UI. And one of them is that you always have the ability to navigate to the back to your home page. And you do not have to cancel yourself out of where you currently are to get back to the home page. You can always get back to the home page. And then similar to how you manage your home page today, these items on the top are all security-based. So I can go into a customer record, I can start a new application, or I can start a bidder quote. The other piece up here by my name, Denise Harpster, is my global navigation, where I can, at any point in time, log off a report, change my preferences, or change my password. One of the other really great things about the new look and feel is you'll notice this little file structure that's to the left of the application. I hover on this, so everything I've been navigating through on the new UI is a hover. I have not had to click or make any clicks at all until I were to select an action. So that is also a little bit different than what we have today. This page that you see is our standard width for pages, and if you wanted to make modifications to that, you certainly can. Right now we have it set at 980 pixels, but it can be modified for whatever your business requires. So you can make it look a little bit different if you so choose. I'm going to go into an application now, and one thing that is a little bit different is you can determine how you want your users to tab through. So you can continue to tab at a horizontal, or you can be like InfoLease and tab vertical. When looking at the application, one thing you'll notice is that we have condensed some of the actions. And you can see on the left-hand side, we have workflow actions under a workflow heading. And again, I'm hovering, I'm not clicking on any items to make these show up. In the middle section, you have some of the more common actions, and that's to cancel or save. The other one we have put in this section is documents, so you're able to easily navigate without having to go under a menu. And then along the right-hand side, you have all of the other actions that you used to seeing and have available to you. So you can calculate pricing from here, you can see your comments from here, and your relationship information. We do have a question. Does the new UI work on all browsers? And it does. So we support the new UI with our current set of browsers that we support the classic UI. So that includes Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Safari. and we are going to be supporting the Chrome browser coming up on our next release, Rapport 6.9. All right, so I'm within an application right now, and I wanted to show everyone the email distribution list that we talked about a little bit earlier. So I'm going to go down to my contact information where it has my customer. I'm going to keep going, and this email distribution list is the email list that's set up as on my notification. So I'm going to enter in my email. And then tab out of that. And now, like I said, you can have a rule populate this field if there's a set of emails that you want to be included on notifications, or if you want yourself to be included or someone else, you can have that populate that field. And then my work on this application is done, so I'm actually going to submit it into the workflow. So I'm going to submit my application. And then you can see that it's locked for processing. I'm going to go over and log in as my credit user. But while I do that, I'm actually going to go in, and you can see that this is the email. Welcome to IDS Financial. It came to me that your application has been submitted for approval. And it has a little bit prettier HTML formatting. So now logged in as the credit user, and I'm going to show a couple of things that we talked about when we set up in the admin and the rules. So I'm going to, again, you'll see the same actions that are on the unassigned work list that you're used to. So I'm going to move this application to my work list and edit the app. And then going into that contract information again, what you'll see is this is my Secretary of State rule that I had previously set up. And so it launches me directly into the Secretary of State for Minnesota, the state that my address is located in. But I'm going to make a change. So I'm going to change it to my favorite postal code in California. And you'll notice that my location changed to California, but you will also see that my link for my Secretary of State website to launch into has also changed. So it dynamically changes based on what's been entered. And also to show you the distributed web service that we have for the location lookup, I'm going to change it back to the Minnesota address. Tab off it, and then you'll see this called down to InfoLease to call Vertex, and it brought back multiple options for me to choose from. So it's calling that distributed web service, bringing back the location. I'm going to select what it was previously. Now I'm going to switch over to show you the dealer. So I just entered in a dealer for this application, and if I click on the name, if you saw that name came up as a link, if I click on that, it comes into the dealer maintenance for that dealer. So I'm directly in dealer maintenance now. I'm going to add myself as a contact. And then you'll notice that there's two options at the top here. I can either just save the dealer record as is, or I can save the dealer record and update it. And if I update it, it's going to update the application that I launched from. So the dealer has been saved. So now the dealer record has been saved, as well as that information that I modified was sent down to the application as well. So I'm going to save and exit out at this point, and then I'm going to go over to show my last example of the criteria. I'm logging in as my booking user, and he does not have any actions available to him on his work list, but he can go into the application history and go back to a booked contract, and you'll see that the status of the contract is booked, so it's been booked into InfoLease, and you'll notice there's an InfoLease link field here, and if I click on it, the contract maintenance, it brings me into InfoLease 10. The one thing I wanted to point out to everyone is this particular test or scenario shows that it goes into InfoLease, but you still have to enter in your username and password. However, if this is something that you were to do frequently, the session, it will keep your username and password in the session management, so you would be able to launch directly into that contract in InfoLease once you've already logged in. So I'm going to log in into InfoLease, and it points me directly to my contract maintenance for that particular contract that was booked. And that's because I have all the proper security in place to be able to do that. So those are the things that I wanted to show you today, and while I was doing my demonstration, Tracy and Tina and Jim were working behind the scenes so that they could get up and running and present their part of the presentation. So I think I'm able to turn it over to Tina at this point in time.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Tina Fleischman. I work at Leaf, and I've been helping Melissa co-chair the Rapport user group now for, I guess it's been almost 2 years now. So I'm sure some of you have heard of me or have heard me talk throughout some of the user groups, but if not, feel free to reach out to me with any questions or anything that you want to know about Rapport itself, because I've been using Rapport now for almost 10 years. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is that I'm going to start with our upgrade schedule. So we initially went to 6722 back in November. Along with the Rapport upgrade itself, we did an InfoLease upgrade at that time. We also upgraded SQL to 2012, so we were at the newest release that we would be able to be on. We upgraded Windows to Windows Server 2012, as well as moved to new servers so that we could utilize the new Windows Server applications. And then along with that, we also did the new UI. So we did a lot in the upgrade in November, and it did take us, quite a while to do all of that because of all of the things that were involved. However, we thought it would be best to do all of it at once to be able to give our users all of the benefits right off the bat, right in November when we did that. And it made things, I think, a little bit easier on us. Instead of having to phase it in, it was all done. We did run the risk of, if something went wrong, trying to figure out, what it was that went wrong, but we actually didn't have as many issues as we thought we were going to. It was a little tough getting used to Windows Server 2012 because things are different and settings are different. However, it really wasn't as bad as a lot of people may think it may end up being. In order for us to do this upgrade, because there was so much to it with the new UI and everything else, we actually had our users do parallel testing for a week prior to going live with the upgrade. So during one of our not as busy weeks, we had the users with 2 monitors have the current Rapport version up on one screen and the new version and the new UI up on the other screen. This allowed them to kind of move around, play around in the new UI, get comfortable with it, as well as help us identify tweaks that needed to be made for them to be comfortable with the new UI. What we did initially is we actually had our marketing group go in and build off the CSS file that was distributed from IDS so that it was branded for Leaf. So you can see in the screenshot that you have the green at the top. When you're in an application, we have the green on the tabs itself. So marketing definitely went in and helped brand it. But then I've done some tweaks myself to help get rid of some of the white space, move some things around, make it a little bit cleaner as we've been live based on user feedback. So I know it may seem like a lot by doing all this at once. It really does I think, benefit the users, because the biggest thing to our users when we do an upgrade is if they don't see a difference in the system, they want to know, well, what was this upgrade for? Why did we do this? Why did we spend all this time? You know, I can tell them till I'm blue in the face that the performance is better, it's faster. But if they don't see a difference in the screens, they don't believe me. And that's just something that, you know, a lot of users, you know, for them, unless they see change, they don't believe there is change. So it was very important for us to give the new UI, make them believe this is a better Rapport, it's a new Rapport, it's, you know, it's everything. So it went over very, very well with our users. They're very happy with it. And then we ended up doing a second upgrade actually last month, and we jumped from 6722 to 6812. So some of the upgrades, they may take a while because you may be doing more, but when we went to the 6812, I think we did testing for maybe a month. There was not a lot of difference between 672 and 681 besides some security things and some different fixes for a few things that we had identified in the 6722 release. We didn't need to do an Infolice upgrade, so if you are looking to do a Rapport upgrade, you don't always need to do an Infolice upgrade. So I think that's pretty important to point out in regards to doing upgrades, that some of them are going to take a long time, some of them may not, some of them may require other things to be upgraded, some may not. So it's all based on where you're going, what you want for your company, and what you think is best for your users. All right, so moving on, I'm going to talk about the new UI a little bit more. So the new UI, like I said, we had marketing, branded. We've been making tweaks as we go, spacing, colors, and different things like that. But what I hear from my users all the time is how much they love this new UI. And the reason they love this new UI is because they no longer have to do a number of clicks to move around Rapport. So previously, if they were within an application making a change to an app and needed to go into a new application or needed to create a new application, they would have to go all the way back to their home page, and from their home page, go into the create application or customer search or application search. So now they can be within an application making a change, click the Save Changes button so that they're saving it, not exit, but go right to the top of their screen to that menu that Melissa showed you, and go right into new application, application search, customer maintenance, dealer maintenance. Anything you need to do, you can do while you're within that application. So if they get a phone call from one of our customers with a new application, they simply click Save, go right to app search or customer search, and they're creating a new application. So there's a lot less clicking, a lot less moving around. They say it's cleaner looking. It's easier for them to look at the screens and to move around. It's also, we've moved so much stuff around, and for those of you who have been using Rapport for a while, one of the pain points that we've seen with form group templates in the past is if you have rows of hidden fields, although you don't, the users don't see it, there is a little bit of white space at the bottom of your form group template being displayed on the actual screen to the users. You no longer have that. So with all of our hidden fields, we used to have these big white gap spaces. That's all gone now with the new UI. So it makes the users able to not have to scroll through the application. They can see everything right on their main screen. The other thing is the form group templates, being able to view everything right from there. As you're transitioning to the new UI, you're able to, right from the form group template, view what it would look like in the Classic and view what it would look like in the new UI to help you. With our Rapport system, besides having marketing do some changes to the CSS and us doing some minor changes to our CSS, I did not have to make any changes to my forms. My forms were already set up. Luckily, there were a few fields that we had to move around, but for the most part, there wasn't that much work. So for everybody who's thinking that this is going to be a lot of work, it really is not. Give it a try, play around with it. If you have a marketing department, great. If not, CSS is not hard to learn, and we've all been using CSS with Rapport for a while now. All right, so now I'm going to move on to the dealer maintenance. For us, dealer maintenance is huge because we are primarily a dealer-based company. We have all of our contact with our dealers, and from our dealers, we then generate our customer base. So for us, we are constantly having to change the dealer information, dealer maintenance. We're constantly having to make sure that the dealer is an approved dealer or having credit go in and update the status. So previously, they would have to, if they were in an application, they would have to save and exit, go back to the home page, go into dealer maintenance, key in the dealer number, and then go into it to make the change. Once they made the change, we then had rules and web services to run to then update when they went back into the application. Now, it's a simple click of a button. And right away, by them clicking the button, it takes them into dealer maintenance. They can make their change, save and update the app, and the application is then updated. This is even more bigger because it's not just at the dealer level on the contract. This is also available to you at the asset level. So if you're using asset vendors who may be different than your actual dealer, you're able to go in and update those asset vendors and then ultimately update your application. So it saves our users a lot of time. I will say, though, Melissa, while I'm bringing this up, that, one of the nice things now that we have this fancy link to click right into the dealer, I think it would be nice to have that on the customer side as well instead of having to go into the action and click the button.
Noted. I'll work on that one next.
It just makes things easier instead of having to go to the top and click something. You're able to click while you're right there.
One of the benefits to having to be able to put in new functionality is sometimes we can streamline it and do it better the second time. So I think that's the case with this link as well.
Yes, I definitely think that there's some really good potential there now that that it works so well for the dealer side, that getting it works on the customer side as well would be very nice. Moving on to my favorite thing is the form template editing. Before, as an admin, I can't tell you how many times I've had to make changes to form group templates. And the way our report was originally set up, we had so many different forms and so many different form group templates. So anytime I needed to make a change, I was constantly having to go into my forms, look for my form group template ID, write it down, make a list of everything so I had it, and then ultimately then go in and update the form group templates. Now you're able to go right into that from the form. It is so much easier. It saves us so much time. And once we upgrade it to the 6.8 version, we got this new look to the form group templates from the admin standpoint that I really like. I like that I don't have to scroll back and forth to get my buttons because there's so many columns. I like that I don't have to scroll up and down, that everything's right there. It's a static view. So being an admin, it makes things a lot easier in these new releases. Okay, one of the other things that we recently started using with the 6.7 release, which I do believe is available in the 6.6 release, is the user-defined actions. So you're now able to add buttons essentially to the application so that your users can click a button that you create and run a web service that you would say to run. We're actually now using this before the whole changes to the email within Rapport. We generated and built our own email notification system, which actually also generates our doc packages. And one of the things that we were constantly hearing is that although it was sending out automatically when a status changed, they wanted to also be able to click a button to regenerate the doc package without having to go into the documents, click all the documents that they needed, and then create and merge the PDF together. So we were able to, using user-defined actions, add a button to their screen that they now click that will generate an email with the merged document file for them and automatically send it out to all of the emails that it needs to be sent out to. So this really gives you a lot of flexibility in being able to do things that you might not necessarily be able to do in Rapport now, but you want to be able to build it yourself and allow more flexibility for your users. The URL field, which is another one with flexibility, huge. Melissa showed you the SOS. I actually stole that from IDS a couple years ago while we were at a conference. I seen them demonstrating that, and our users love it. I mean, based on the customer state, it automatically will give them the correct SOS URL. But the other thing that we started using this with, now that you're able to dynamically build the URL using actual data from the application, our CRM system is Salesforce. Again, we're dealer-based. So the whole integration with Rapport and Salesforce is more customer-based. So what we did is we generated now a URL on the application that is dynamically built using the dealer number. So our users can click right onto that URL, and it'll take them right to the dealer account within Salesforce. Now again, same thing like Melissa showed with IL10, if they're haven't been logged in a while, they will be forced to relog into Salesforce. However, if they have been in and they are continuously in it, their session will still be open and they won't need to do that. But it just shows the flexibility that we're now able to dynamically build URLs to be able to take our users to different things. You know, another thing that you can do with this is, which I'm working on now, Google or whitepages.com, anything where the URL is dynamically being built on the data you're searching, you can dynamically build that URL within Rapport using the application data. So your users don't have to retype all of that information in, they just click a button. And then lastly, another one of my favorites as an admin is the rules criteria. I cannot tell you how many fields I have hidden on my screens that are differences between one field and another field, because previously you could not evaluate against two fields. The only way to do it is if they were numeric, and you could do a difference, and then you could evaluate on the difference. Now, with this new rules criteria, not only are you able to, check for is null, which was harder before like Melissa showed, but you're able to evaluate on one field against another field. So you don't have to create all these extra fields to be able to figure out, well, what is ultimately these two fields different, and then evaluating another rule on that field. You just need one rule and using the fields that are already on your screen. So I know that was a lot to take in, so I hope I didn't lose everybody, and I hope I didn't put anybody to sleep. But I really, from an admin standpoint, love the newer Rapport versions, and our users love it as well. I have not heard one user, and we have 65 concurrent users, there has not been one user who has come to me and said, I don't like this, I want to go back to the previous version. Everybody loves the new UI. Everybody loves the new enhancements that we're able to give them because of the new functionality and these new upgrades. So now I'm going to hand you guys over to Melissa, who can introduce Jim.
Thank you very much, Tina. So like Tina said, our next guest speaker, Jim Litke, is going to talk to us about some of the things they've been doing at Olympus and some of the new features and functionality that they are enjoying.
Morning, everybody. This is Jim Litke. I'm with Olympus. We've been on Rapport for about 4 years now, and up until May we were on 6.3, and then we moved to 6.7. So that was probably 6 months or so of testing before we went live. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. So we did, and I'll echo a lot of what Tina said. We had all of our users doing concurrent testing, so they would enter something in the current system and then echo it in the new system to make sure that all the functionality was the same, and to test the new functionality also. We went to the new UI right out of the box, so they were already familiar with that. And we worked heavily with our internal web development team to give it the Olympus look and feel that we share across all of our websites. And they helped me clean up a lot of the white space, like Tina was saying, and we got rid of a lot of that. Everybody, I've heard no complaints with 6.7 at all. They love it, and everybody is looking forward to going to 6.8, which we're going to start evaluating here in a few months. And one of the most exciting features that we were able to do was to create an auto-approval workflow that we didn't have previous, and it's really cut down on a lot because prior to that, credit had to touch every application that came through, and that was really getting to be brutal. So with all the new features, we were able to create the auto-approval, and it's really streamlined things for us a lot. And everybody in the field really likes the fact that we can now do the asset-based pricing, which was so key for us. Prior to that, they were doing a lot of things in spreadsheets and then getting those figures correct and then moving it into Rapport, which again was a real bottleneck. But now we've moved past that, and based on the rules criteria that came over and everything, it's really helped us get rid of all the bottlenecks and really improve efficiencies for all our applications. And currently, we're looking at rolling out the bid quote system. So we're evaluating that right now, and that's turning out to be something that's for our field reps. It's turning out to be something really good because, like I said before, they had to use spreadsheets to enter everything in, and now we're able to just keep everything within Rapport, and we're realizing a lot of efficiency gains from all that. And like Tina said, we did a lot of things at once when we converted over. We went from SQL 2008 to 2014. We virtualized both the application and the database servers, and we were already at the latest version of Infolice 9, so we didn't have to do anything there. But we did all these things at the same time, and there were no issues at all. So I think that really speaks to what a solid platform Rapport is, that it was able to handle all those things at the same time with no issues. I think that's about it for me.
Great. Thank you very much, Jim.
Sure.
I hope everyone has had an opportunity to take in what Tina and Jim have been discussing, and one of the reasons that I asked both of these to join us today and speak was because they're both really great examples of customers that upgraded frequently, but also customers that take in the new functionality with each release and look over it and try to apply it to their configurations so that their configurations can stay up to date and also align with current business practices. So if anyone has any questions in the coming days of things that they thought of after and as a part of thinking through what they discussed, please feel free to reach out to either one of them or to me. I'm happy to put you in contact with them because they're both really good examples of keeping their business up to date on their current configurations of Rapport. In our final minutes, we did have a few questions come in when Tina and Jim were discussing. And one of the questions that came up was, can a user customize the menu buttons within the application? So for example, can you move one of the calculate buttons to the main menu so that you can see it on the main bar in the application? And the answer to that is you can do that. It's a little bit behind the scenes, so please let me know if you're interested in that and we can get you set up correctly. It wasn't an original part of the design for the UI, and so we are going to be making changes in a future release to allow you to adjust that within the configuration, but there is a way to do that within the database today. So please let me know if that's something you're interested in as you're looking at the new UI, and we can get that set up correctly for you. And
I can speak for the fact that we have actually done that, and it definitely has been a great tool for our users. We actually moved the comments button to the center of the screen.
And then another question that came up was that customer maintenance was already available to save an update on an application. Is that true? And the answer is yes. You do have the ability to go into customer maintenance directly from an application or a contract setup. That's an action within the application itself. So you do have the ability to go into customer maintenance. What you did not have prior to 6.7 was the ability to go into the dealer maintenance. So that is the new capability. And they are a little bit different in how you access them, but they're both available today. And so I think that is all the time that we have today for the webinar. I wanted to, again, extend a thank you to everyone for attending. If you have any additional questions, please reach out, let me know. I'd be happy to also have individual calls with everyone if there's additional questions or things that I can help. If you are thinking about upgrading or upgraded already and have some questions about the functionality. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.